Hey guys, what's up? Dingo Crikey here with another commentary video. This time I'm going to be doing a review of episode 15 of Robots in Disguise. So here we are at episode 15 of the show, kind of after that landmark of episode 13, and the show is still pretty much doing the same old stuff it was doing in the first 13 episodes. Basically, we have a more serious plot line with a lot of humor thrown in there and kind of a humorous subplot, and then of course the Monster of the Week effect with the new Decepticons. This didn't really bother me so much for the first 13 episodes. Yeah, I would have liked them to avoid it, but now it seems like it's not just going to be that part of the show, but that's kind of going to be what the show is like in general. Like I said, a lot of shows will kind of hold on to this formula for the first 13 episodes, and then they'll kind of move past it. Transformers Robots in Disguise seems to be staying there. And of course in the second half we'll see them follow up on some of the stories in the first half, such as in this one we have Chopshop returning, or at least one of his components, and that was kind of cool, but it definitely doesn't make up for a bigger, better story. Basically what we're seeing in episodes 13 through 25 doesn't seem bad so far, but this is stuff we should have already been seeing in the first 13 episodes, and now it's just getting pretty boring. But as for the episode itself, it was also just an okay one. It did have some good ideas, such as Chopshop returning and the Autobots kind of living inside of their nightmares, but these better plot lines don't really get discovered because the episode just spends so much time waddling over, like Russell encountering his fears and the Autobots bumbling through the cave, and like the first 2 or 3 minutes of the episode are all kind of unessential. Rather than having the same formula that a lot of the other episodes have, it would have been cool to see something like the episode start out in one of the characters' nightmares and have it start off kind of normal feeling, and it just gets weirder and weirder and darker until you kind of realize there has to be something wrong here. And they could have also played with the whole ideas of the characters having nightmares to make it a more interesting concept. I mean, it isn't a bad idea, but Robots in Disguise seems to pretty much take the simplest form of a concept and use it. So it's like they get caught and they're having nightmares. That's simple, that's all it is. Now, they did have the concept of Nightstrike using this opportunity to suck out their energon, but I think that they could have expanded upon the idea of the nightmares. You know, they'd have to add more to the concept, but maybe do something like the Autobots are kind of all in each other's nightmares. But at first they're just alone, then they find the other ones, but they don't even know it's the actual Autobots. You know, they're still in a dream state, so everything's still clouded to them, but maybe have Bumblebee, for whatever reason, maybe Night Screech does something wrong, and Bumblebee starts to have more of a lucid dreaming and kind of realizes what's going on, and has to get the other Autobots to realize it's just a dream and kind of wake up from the reality, because they could even take that whole dream concept further and make them all kind of in the same dream, but they're seeing things differently. And then the whole concept of the nightmares would have been really cool, and I know that's something they've done in other sci-fi shows, but it's something we don't really get to see in Transformers, and it definitely would have been exciting for this show. But for the way the dreams were handled, they could have at least used this opportunity to reveal a little bit more about the characters. Now, I do like the kind of comical aspects in there, but overall seeing their dreams, like Strongarm afraid of being a criminal and Bumblebee having the disapproval of Optimus, it really puts the stamp on these characters as being one-dimensional. Like, because dreams are supposed to tell you something about your deeper self or something like that. Now we know that there's really nothing more to these characters. Now, out of the dreams we did see, I liked Sideswipes the most because it was not only the most surreal, you know, in the end with the world just kind of cramping up on him, but it felt kind of like a realistic fear, and it kind of told something about his character. Bumblebee just being afraid of Optimus's disapproval, it was kind of like there's got to be more to Bumblebee than this, but that seems to be all they're doing with his character in the show. So that's my thoughts on the whole dreaming idea. It was kind of cool. We got some funny moments in there with Sideswipe and Grimlock, but overall, it felt as though it was handled in a very generic sense. So while we have all of this going on with the Autobots, who do we get more time with in the episode? Denny and Russell. This was pretty painful. Now, at this point, I don't totally hate Denny. Yeah, he has his moments, and he definitely has the TV moments of the show with Russell, but overall, he's okay as a human character. Russell still is unbearable, very, very annoying, a very cliche type of character. At this point, I'm even missing Miko from Prime. I mean, yeah, she got on all of our nerves a lot, but she was kind of a unique character. Russell just feels like a slab-on stereotype personality. Also, he's done nothing that really makes him significant to the characters. Take Raph in Transformers Prime. He was good with Earth technology and computers, and he could help the Autobots out in that way. Agent Fowler was definitely pretty essential to the Transformers in that show. Even Kicker in Transformers Energon could detect where Energon was, so he had some significance. I mean, Denny does, because he's the owner of this junkyard, but Russell, he really has no skills that make him important, and anything that they do throw in there feels really forced. So that's all I'm going to say about Russell. This episode didn't do anything to make his character more likable. And while we're talking about the characters who had focus, what about the Decepticons? Because we had two in this episode, Nightstrike, the new character, and then we have the return of Chopshop, or one of his minions. And despite the fact that Chopshop didn't have any speaking roles in this episode, I did like what they did with this character, having him not only pitted against the other Decepticon, but helping the Autobots out even when he had escaped. He didn't really need to help them at that point. So that was a kind of cool development for his character. I really didn't think they were going to do that, so it was kind of cool to see. It was also nice that he didn't get the rest of him freed in this episode, that they might draw that out over a period of time. And I'm hoping that when the Autobots and Chopshop meet again, they do show him some sympathy. I mean, that would be pretty un-Autobot-like if they didn't. Then we have Nightstrike. Personality-wise, nothing cool about him. I'm going to suck out your blood, I'm a bad Dracula, all the typical stuff. Well, of course, it's Energon, but this is one of the few Decepticons in the show that I think has a very, very cool design. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see him transform, but what I'm guessing is his robot mode is really cool looking. Nice design. I mean, I'm just a fan of bats, so maybe that's why I like it, but I think he also had a really cool color scheme, and it would be cool to see a toy of this guy, though we probably won't, considering Thunderhoof still can't get a deluxe class figure. As far as his role in the story, his abilities, nothing too memorable, outside of the fact that he apparently doesn't get along with other Decepticons either. He's just another monster of the week. I mean, as far as the strongest points of this episode, it's probably the humor. I mean, Fix-It always has some funny moments. I really enjoyed when he's talking to Denny about, Russell always being biologically his son, and, just him being so clueless about the way everything works. Other than that, you have his cliche moments, like his voice glitching, and then we have the whole Bumblebee rollout thing. And all of that stuff's pretty overdone at this point. It can be kind of funny sometimes, but then when you remember that the other episodes happened, yeah, it can get kind of annoying. And then you do have the moments with Grimlock being afraid of the cat. Now it is kind of the cliche elephant and mouse situation, but for the way the voice actor handles Grimlock, it does make it worthwhile. Now, I think that horror was supposed to be one of the themes of this episode, but I didn't feel it at all. And it doesn't really have to do with it being a kid's show. I mean, yeah, I'm older now, it's a kid's show, but Transformers Prime could be kind of scary at times, especially with the Terracons. Robots in Disguise really wasn't at all, but to its credit, it kind of made some of the horror themes comical. It didn't take itself too seriously, so if it can't really be scary, that's probably the best way to handle it. Overall, looking at this episode, I would probably give it like a 5 out of 10, 5.5 at the highest. It just didn't have a lot to deliver. It did have some good aspects, but those were really either glossed over, like with Chopshop, or they weren't handled as well as they could have been, like the whole dreaming idea. And the rating is kind of in context to the fact that this is episode 15. If this was earlier on in the show, it might get a better rating, but at this point, I think we're kind of expecting the show to start to pick up. But that's just my thoughts on it. You guys can leave what you think in the comment section below. From the comments that I do get on these reviews, I get the impression that pretty much anyone watching my videos is not a fan of Robots in Disguise, and the show really hasn't given us much to talk about, but if you could think of anything, or if you just want to rant on the show more, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. I really enjoy reading people's criticisms of this show, though it would be really interesting to hear someone try to defend it from a logical standpoint, if it could be done. You could also drop off any topic suggestions you have on Transformers Robots in Disguise, Transformers 5, the Combiner Wars Toyland, anything Transformers related. And for further Transformers news and discussion, keep up with my channel, or you could follow me on Twitter. That's all I have to say for now. Thanks for watching, stay tuned, and have a good one, guys.